So today is our day 94, and we're going to get right back into the swing of things. Thank you for those who waited for me yesterday. You guys were amazing still being here, and I couldn't show up until 20 minutes later, but I had no internet connection where we were. So you guys waited patiently. Michelle texted me because she thought maybe there was something wrong. And I love that we have cultivated a relationship in such a way that you trust that I'm coming and are concerned if I don't, and that you lead it. I think that that was so beautiful. So thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your dedication. And today we are going to get into holding space for grief and gratitude, right? The other day, just a little sip of coffee. The other last week, we were talking about holding, well, not holding space, but celebrating grief and joy, right? Like at the same time, like how do we hold space for that? And now today we're going to be talking about grief and gratitude. If you have been with me, if you followed me, if you've, Googled anything and been like, all right, well, who is this chick that's coming across my Substack feed? And found me anywhere else, you will know that I will consistently talk about oppression and anti oppression work as trauma work and as grief work. We need to treat it very much like compact, CPTSD, compound trauma, because it is. It's one thing on top of another, inside of another thing, right? And when you're looking at those 15 pillars of supremacy culture, a friend of mine just made a point on it. They're like, wow, this is really interesting how it overlays with how trauma impacts the body. And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's trauma work. That's why it's grief work. And sitting with that, right? Again, like allowing grief to happen in the small things, right? Like the other day, I spilled my coffee. There was grief. It's morning coffee. Like the last thing, and I was outside, so it wasn't as easy as like, oh, I spilled my coffee in the house. Let me go and get another one. I was outside at baseball on Saturday morning, not even freaking 8:30 a.m. and my coffee is spilling. There's grief in that. We should allow those spaces. We should move through that as such. So here today, we're going to be talking about holding space for grief and gratitude. If you are new here, one, welcome. Though it's day 94, feel free to go through all of them. You start right where you are. You're meant to be here, and that's absolutely fine. This is not a litmus test. There is no certificate at the end of it. It just happens to be that this is when the work found you. Trust that. Go deeper. So day 94. 3 points, right? So one is grief acknowledges loss and creates space for healing. Two, gratitude fosters resilience. Three, balancing grief and gratitude. So those are our three things for our micro lessons. Mondays have no paywall, no barriers, but I am trying to survive capitalism like everybody else. So Wednesdays and Fridays and any day for the podcast space are often they are actually paywalled, but because I believe in equity, if this is something that you're like, oh my God, I really love this work. I want to do this. I don't have the finances. You email me scholarships at Desiree B. Stevens and I'm going to comp you for a year because I trust that you know your money better than I know your money. Okay. Ready? Sip of coffee, grab your drink, your water, breathe, all of the good stuff. God, why is coffee so good? Also, can we get into my skin? Because that chemical peel was not playing. There's no filter. That's just sunshine, baby. Okay, that's it. So, day 94, holding space for grief and gratitude. One, grief acknowledges loss and creates space for healing. Liberation work involves confronting loss, whether it's people, time, or opportunities missed under oppressive systems. Holding space for grief honors these losses and facilitates healing. As an example, community vigils allow people to grieve and collectively process losses, right? Oh, thank you. Damien said such a gracious offer. Yeah, it's a balance, right? I'm surviving capitalism. So yes, I need money, and also people need access. So how do we create that balance? And, thanks to Zon, she really walked me through that. She's amazing. Follow her over here. Liberating Motherhood. It's quite literally one of the only white feminists that I take seriously. No offense, but she's like doing the work on a really serious, deep level. And she was like, you can't do that. That's just not, it's not equitable to you. And I was really thankful that she did that because I'm like, you're right. I was struggling. And this is this is it. I want this work to sustain me. This is what I want to do. I want to be showing up daily. I want to be giving people thoughtful articles. I need this to be what sustains me and my family. But I also need it to be accessible. So I appreciate you recognizing the graciousness in that offer. Thank you. So when we're talking about like acknowledging loss and creating that space for healing, I don't think that we think about things is inviting enough. Carolyn says, Dawn is how I found you. And also I started my own Substack. I love yeah, Dawn has been getting it on me for years. We're like friends in real life. And she's like, why aren't you writing? You're always talking on Facebook. And I'm like, I don't know, girl. I don't know. I don't know, girl. I don't know. But yeah, she put her foot in ours. And here we are. Jenny says, I looked Dawn up based on your recommendation and she's great. I mean, phenomenal. And like I said, in my opinion, one of, I don't know very many white feminists, so that was maybe a mean thing to say. But you know how I feel about white feminism. I'm like, it's not working for white women. It's definitely not going to work for us. And there's some things to be worked out with that theory of white feminism. But Zon does the work in a very true and deep way, right? Where she's not like, oh, we need to be just as powerful as white men. She's like, stop sleeping with these people, stop procreating with these people, and get into community. And I'm like, there it is. That's the message. That is it. That's where we need to be. Like, weed them out the gene pool, and that is where we align. I'm like, listen, we don't need to be doing this. We don't need to be cow tipping. We need to be weeding people out of the gene pool, getting into community, and whoever is not aligned with humanity at all of its levels, at the full breadth and spectrum of humanity, just does not need to be in spaces that are safe. We need to create our own spaces. So we align, right? Remember we talked about that last week? The difference between aligning and agreeing. I don't agree with a lot of shit she says because it's a lens of white feminism, but we align in our ideals of liberation. And I love her. I think she's amazing. So here we go again. I'm sorry. I get sidetracked for these conversations I live for. So when we're talking about grief, acknowledging loss and creating space for healing, I don't think that we look at stuff as an opportunity often enough, right? As an invitation to doing something, like to look deeper. So if we have a collective loss, last week we talked about how nonprofits lose funding, right? And it's amazing to be funded. I hope, pray, all of the good stuff that people are consistently well funded because there is enough finances in the world for um, do good organizations to be funded. But if you lose the grant, what it offers is an opportunity to say, okay, well, what new ways can we do this? What opportunity is presenting itself to me, right? How can we move through this? How can we heal? And I think I know if we lead with more curiosity in situations, we wind up inviting more space for change, for healing, for holding that grief like, okay. Instead of just anger, which is a very base emotion that we are always allowed to hold. Good morning, Anna. Oh, Susan, thank you. Susan said, I love that. And it was at the same time where I was talking about Zon and I aligning, but not always agreeing. Two, gratitude fosters resilience. Expressing gratitude for the progress made, the lessons learned, and the connections built helps sustain long-term resilience. I talk to you guys about this all the time, right? That kind of goes into like that celebration, but be thankful, right? Express that gratitude. I am grateful. Like even in this morning, I do this so much in my life that it just becomes automatic, right? Like this morning, leaning in, that's gratitude. You guys waited for 20 minutes on a Sunday. Baby, it may not have been me. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm like, oh, she's not here. Off with my day, you know? But you guys, and I know that maybe you're not waited with bated breath and sore, but the fact that as soon as I went live, 7, 10 of you guys were there, you were waiting, right? You were waiting. And there is deep gratitude to hold in there, right? Like, and then there's opportunity for like, that healing space. Hey, I didn't forget about you guys. I didn't have the internet access. It also then gives me information that if I'm going to be doing something that may delay me, maybe I put a little post on my page. Maybe I write a note. Maybe I shoot an email. Hey, I may possibly be late because this is what I'm doing. This is what I mean about when we're allowed to express our grief and gratitude simultaneously, it opens up opportunities and invitations for deeper healing and other possibilities in that sort of way, right? And then the gratitude forces the resilience. So when we express that gratitude for the progress made, look at where we are. It's day 94, right? Feels like we didn't skip a beat. We've been here every single day, whether we went into the lesson that day or not, but it's day 94 of our lesson. Um, there's something beautiful in that. There's just to celebrate it, to sit with it, right? What connections that we built. I love that. You guys are sharing. Some of you found me because of Zon. Yeah, I get a lot of recommendations from Zon. Um, and I love that, right? Because I know that her audience is primed to hear something, and I know that I'm the uncomfortable something. Because like it's not comfortable here. It's not comfortable with Zon either, but when you're thinking about that, these connections that get built from this work, from being grateful. Good morning, Dr. Kim. That is one of my favorite humans right there. You guys should stop right now and click on Dr. Kimberly Douglas's name and follow her immediately. Dr. Kim and I used to go live weekly on TikTok. I wish they were able to keep them. And we would talk about neurodiversity and how it impacts how supremacy culture specifically impacts neurodiversity. And she is an amazing entrepreneur, leader, think leader, thought leader. Like her program, like made me being here is quite literally possible because Dr. Kim was like, here, let me give you a pass way to do the work that you're trying to do. So follow her. Brilliant work. Brilliant. So as an example, a community that regularly practices gratitude builds an environment of support and positivity. Actually, you just saw that right now. That is my community, right? Like, that is what this is, right? Having that gratitude that people sit down, always much love, like, really sit down and see each other and are practicing that gratitude. We have got to really work on the way that we take people for granted. As an example, talking with you guys about last night, my son, sometimes he would like to get emotionally manipulative. He's 9 years old. I get activated by that because patriarchy, right? And I want to ensure that I'm not raising a patriarchal schmuck who is, has misogynoir built in. That is not always easy, right? Because I do believe you're supposed to parent the child in front of you, not the one ahead. But there are still things and habits that we can absolutely develop if they're not checked. So yesterday, after being on the phone with his friends for hours and hours, and he had to finally come off and right, and we're addictive brain, ADHD, and all of those things. Yeah, 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 yeah. Got it. But let's focus on what I'm talking about, right? This idea that taking me for granted, that like me parenting is not optional. Okay. Like, no. I want to go with my grandma. You're right. Let's do that. No, no, no. Get up. Get up. Get yourself a bag and let's go. And by 10:15, we were at his grandma's house. Bye. I mean, I wound up staying there till like 11 o'clock because, I wasn't going to just leave him so he could have an abandonment wound. But I sat with him and I was like, no, we're going to honor your choices. That's what you wanted to do. That's what we're going to do. And what you're not going to do is take advantage of the relationship and the connection that you have with me. No relationship is guaranteed, right? The more that we see these relationships as precious, right? Because you see that with a lot of estranged parents too. You assumed your kid was always going to have to deal with you, and then they don't talk to you. And you're like, well, what happened? Well, you had no gratitude for it. You assumed that relationship was supposed to exist always, that you always would have access to that person because there's an ownership that gets built into supremacy culture that we don't talk about enough. And you will not always have access to your children. I don't give a fuck what you did for them. You were supposed to. That welcome to parenthood. It's almost like you wanted to have kids. There you go. You did the job that you're supposed to do. You failed in lack in some other space. And this is not an attack. I myself have an eldest child who is estranged and doesn't talk to me. Somewhere down the line, it went awry. But the same can happen in reverse. Yes. Oh, Dr. Kim, I love that. No relationship is guaranteed by me. None. So having that gratitude inside of this work, right? Knowing and recognizing, hey, anybody I have access to. It's a grace given, right? Access to anyone, even when you're paying them. Okay. Because that's what capitalism does in supremacy culture. It makes you feel like you purchase them. I don't care that you pay me, that you don't own me. You pay for services I offer, not me as a human, not access to me as a person. All of those things have to be unpacked. And when we're talking, that's where the gratitude comes in. Like, how amazing is it that I have access to this person? Any person, any person. The wino at the store who held the door open for you, you should have gratitude for. Because how nice is that? Look at that. I didn't have to open up my door. I love that for me. What a great act of kindness. That is gratitude and access to people. So I gave an example, but now you guys got all of that. Uh, I said, as an example, a community that regularly practices gratitude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I gave you a reflection. That's what I was getting to because I already said that example. What are you grateful for in your liberation journey and how can you express it? So ask yourself that. I'm going to stand up and turn on this phone because this fan, Monique has turned it off and forgotten that I'm perimenopausal. Okay. And I'm having a hot flash and she doesn't seem to care, though she sees my glasses fogging up and the sweat dripping down my damn face. She don't care. She don't care about me. Yeah. She should have more gratitude in this moment. She got up and she turned on the fan. I'm like, give me the ice and turn on the AC. Good morning, Sally. Let me go up and read these amazing comments. Carolyn says, you're a good balance to Dawn as well, because I was so angry with the men in my life and your call to give them grace. You give us really changed something in me. Oh, I love that. Still angry, but there's love too. And you can be, right? I don't think that that's the absence. Grace is not the absence of anger, right? Grace is what we extend in the midst of it. I could be angry as hell, seething. And I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to get in my body and I'm going to say, okay, listen, what are we willing to do? Mhm. What are we willing to do? Are we willing to do the repair? Right? Like when we go through that accountability process, okay, here's the accountability. That means own your shit. It's neutral. Are you apologetic? You may or may not be. That's not a necessary step in that. Are we saying that whatever this is worthy of repair and restoration? Great. We are. What are we doing about it? Oh, we're not. Love that too. Either way, there's resolution for me. So you can be angry and anger is needed when you are talking about dismantling systems of oppression. Righteous anger, not blind anger. Blind anger has gotten us nowhere. Righteous anger is something that keeps that fire stoked. Like I'm angry that these systems exist, but that anger has to be for all. Patriarchy harms men first. White supremacy harms white people first. It's a system and a cycle of abuse, all of the things, right? Ableism harms the able body first, right? Because you can't just be able. You have to be top tier able or you start being disabled. Aging in an ableist society is a disability. It's all worthy of being unpacked. Tiffany's laughing at me sweating to death. I was like a fish out of water. Does she see me? I'm red, guys. Look at me. I'm flushed. Like it's happening. She's right here. She's right here. She can see me. Okay, so 3. Balancing grief and gratitude. Grief and gratitude are not opposites. They can coexist, creating a full, authentic reflection of the liberation process. As an example, communities that grieve losses while celebrating wins demonstrate emotional depth and collective strength, right? We cannot be sitting down and let's say, we all gathered, I talked to you guys because I know that these hands off movements are happening more and more. And there's something to be said about the learning that white people have to learn collectively about protesting. But you got to go through this process, right? Like you gotta think that you can have a bouncy house at a protest, which is insane. But it's a step. It's a step in the right direction. So I have to take my breath and offer grace, right? You have to sit down and be like, oh, this is what we do on the weekends. We all got together. And I'm like, that's what we do. That's what we do. Getting a little bit closer to what protesting is, right? So there is that, like, I grieve the fact that, like, protesting is something so new when it is not Black led, right? For change. But I have gratitude that white people are like, absolutely not. We're gonna go outside, right? If the 92% are resting, like I'm here for that, right? There is, like I said, there's a reckoning that's happening within white America, and there is a reclamation that's happening within Black America, and that's happening simultaneously. And there's something beautiful about that, right? Because it can't consistently be the work on one person, right? When you're thinking about that, when you think of us as a group in a space, all of the emotional labor, and considering today has been a lot of patriarchal talk, if all of the emotional labor is on this one group of people and this other person is consistently practicing, what the hell is that? Weaponized incompetence. Love that word. Love that. Love that whole theory of weaponizing competence. And that's what white people as a collective do, weaponizing competence. Whilst Black people as a collective have to do all of this emotional labor, the physical labor. It is very much, again, inner world, outer world. We could see what we've been manifesting, right? Because systems of abuse replicate unless we disrupt them. That is it. That they meant to continue on. Systems of abuse replicate unless you disrupt them. If you remember nothing else from this morning's live, systems of abuse replicate if you do not disrupt them. The work that we are doing here is disruptive. Good morning, Deanna. And that is what I want you to do. Constantly be disrupting them at every turn, at every angle, and holding that grief, that gratitude, recognizing for so many generations you upheld these systems of abuse. That's grief. Gratitude is saying, I am now disrupting these systems of abuse, and you hold them together and you get your sacred container. Remember, I talked about that, right? All magic works, all alchemical things need a container. You become the container, right? Because this work starts with yourself. It comes out into your home, and then it goes into your work and community. Inner world, outer world. So there we go. Look at that. It's 9:57. I did that. I did that. I talked. I had hot flashes. We listened to some music. Hey, go Monday. Go Monday. Go Monday. Looks like a good week. Hi, Lita. Oh, mm-hmm. Okay. So we're going to run this back again. Say 94, holding space for grief and gratitude, right? And I'll give you a little step by step guidance in the replay. Don't worry about that. One, grief acknowledges loss and creates space for healing because it's okay. It's okay to lose things. We lose things all the time. And again, no relationships are guaranteed, not a one. I want you to sit down and I really want you to sit with that. There is not a relationship in your life that is guaranteed. It is that much, that should make it that much more precious, right? It should make it that much more like when I used to talk to you guys in the beginning, where I'm like, you have to remember that you're sacred. You have to remember that you are divine. When you step into that truth, when you move with that truth, you move different. You don't have no other choice. Like people are not going to play with you. A lot of things. Like you're going to treat me like I am sacred, and I'm going to treat you the same way. And if we're not, we're gonna have to move around each other because that's going to be a problem. Same when you recognize not a relationship. Look. Like if they be in church, look at your neighbor. Say, neighbor, this ain't guaranteed. There you go. Neighbor, this relationship is not guaranteed. It's not. And then you step into it and it's like enjoying that moment because this may be the only moment. This may be the last moment. We don't know. The more that you do that, the more gratitude that you're going to have. And there's a little bit of grief in that too. There's a little bit of grief in realizing nothing is permanent. But there's an immense amount of gratitude in recognizing that we get to choose each other. You don't have to be here. You're choosing to be here. I love that for me. Thank you. That's gratitude. Grief is when people decide to unsubscribe or they feel like I brought them harm. I have grief over every single person that decides not to. I'm like, oh, that's really sad. I was hoping that this connection lasted. But I have great gratitude for those that continue on. And the door's always open for them to come back. I recognize that this work is difficult. So there you go. That's holding space for that grief and possibilities for healing. Two, gratitude fosters resilience. The more I focus on those of you who do show up, who keep on, I can keep on. Right? I'm not going to now. The grief is about acknowledgement. It's not about wallowing. right? I'm not gonna, oh my God, 15 people unfollowed me. Okay. Like there's a billion people in this world. I'm gonna be okay, right? Like a billion people will unfollow, right? There will be people that will come to this work, and I trust the invitation. I trust the ancestors. I trust the universe, God, will spirit, whatever moves you to bring the people that need to be here in front of me in this space. And it may ebb and flow because we're nature. Remember that, right? So this week it may be something, and next week I may say something that's gonna piss you off, and you just can't do it. And you should do that. Trust yourself. Do what's best for you. But then you may be back, and I'm gonna have gratitude about that. And that is your resilience. Three, balancing grief and gratitude. That was the third point, right? Holding space that both of those things can coexist. And that's what creates that sacred container, right? I will grieve that this is maybe not be permanent, but I'm going to have gratitude for the time that we have had together. I'm going to have gratitude for this moment that we're in right now, all of that. And there goes your sacred container. So tomorrow, we will be back with day 95, dreaming forward, what comes next. Guys, day 95. Are you stoked? So, are you stoked? Because we're almost at our 100 days, but don't worry about it because we're going to take a break. You're going to do some integrating at the end of the 100 days. And I will, I will give you some exercises or what have you to help do some integration. I've been trying to work on Kay Coughlin is my business coach, and she's amazing. Find her here on Substack. She was like, you should do like a compilation of best of. So I'm thinking about some sort of something like that, like a best of these 100 days. Like I'll go through the metrics. Dr. Kim loves metrics. I do not, but she's really good about it matters. So I'm going to trust her. Uh, and I'm going to go through the metrics, see what the best does, and then be like, here you go. Like, let's integrate these lessons because these seem to have resonated the most over the 100 days based on the data. And you sit down and you relax those 2 weeks that we take off, but then we'll be back. And I'm going to have my full on Delilah, love someone tonight radio station on Substack. I love me. All right. I love you guys too. And I will see you tomorrow when we're talking about what comes next. There's a little bit of what comes next for me. Let me know what comes next for you. Sit down, think about grief and gratitude today. Deep breaths, move your body, drink some water. That's all I got for you, folks. Love you and see you tomorrow.